Welcome everyone to Star Trek, Trek, your ongoing journey through the annals of Star Trek. And we are hitting movie territory now with the one and only Shia porn star of Song Sung Blue and many other amazing things. Sorry, we are going to plug you at every opportunity here. And, you know, yeah. Anyway, we have just watched your draft pick, The Undiscovered Country. Tell us, Shai. Why did you pick this film to go on your pick of draft? So, for those that don't know, we had a draft where we all picked an episode in order, and this has gone on a list of next things to watch. And you picked The Undiscovered Country. Tell us what about it sort of made you pick it as part of your sort of like 10 picks in Star Trek?
Well, I'll repeat a lot of what I said at the head of the watch through that we just did. I was picking number 2. Stars picked number 1, and if he of course chose the all-time classic Wrath of Khan. But I chose its natural bookend, Undiscovered Country, also by Nicholas Meyer. I feel these movies balance each other perfectly. Wrath of Khan is a very intimate, up-close submarine battle story, and this is a wide-ranging galactic adventure, planet hopping from venue to venue. It's a great chase and a mystery to me. And I love the Cold War parallels, ranging from the Adlai Stevenson quote of "Don't wait for the translation" back in the Cuban Missile Crisis, up to the dissolution of the Soviet Union. Yeah, it's just great. And just watching it through again, great sets, great character designs, beautiful cinematography, just like quietly beautiful cinematography. Sometimes you just, it's like they all say, like, good effects are when you don't notice them, right? Like good cinematography, you don't necessarily always notice how good it is. Yeah, I just love how the characters relate. They did a great job of compensating for not being able to have Savick in this movie. Kim Cattrall brings it. She does it perfectly, even though she's obviously going to be the villain at some point. She still sells it. You're still with them on it. Yeah, I love this movie. I watched this, and as I said, opening with Sulu in command is just chef's kiss. That whole sequence, the Praxis explosion, is just gorgeous and perfect on-set action.
How happy would you be if Star Trek Continues somehow came back and they said we're now going to do a movie era, and they said, hey, sure, come back as Sulu, and you had to get to wear the monster maroons.
I talk about this all the time, that I was in preliminary pre-production.
Wow.
I was pulling together
too, because don't you have the teacup?
I have a similar teacup. I had an Excelsior. I have an Excelsior model. I did a bunch of test shots of it against the green screen, and I even like lit it so that they look like there were lights coming out of where there's supposed to be lights. Wow. It was working pretty well. I was all down for doing a Sulu series, but the bottom fell out of Fan Filmdom.
Thank you.
Thanks to someone.
Yeah.
Thanks, Axnar.
Yeah.
Now that your IMDb is fleshed out with certain recent credits, I'm sure they'd be glad to have you back.
Yes.
You never know.
He's got the Ellisons in his back pocket now.
Well, as someone used to like to say, I always like to think that there are possibilities.
Okay, this film was directed by the legendary Nicholas Meyer, who you know from Wrath of Khan and illustrious film credits. Also, the Khan audiobooks podcast series that is out now as well. He's primarily responsible for bringing that up to our attention. Story was by Leonard Nimoy, which actually I didn't know that coming to the film. I didn't realise he was one of the principal writers. But also co-penned as well with Lawrence Connor and Mark Rosenthal, who were writing partners. They did a lot of things together, including the 2001 Planet of the Apes, Mighty Joe Young, Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. So, this is a range of things. Also, very interestingly, and starring a couple of Trek alums, they also co-wrote The Sorcerer's Apprentice, which starred Alice Krige and a young Ethan Peck, who, as we know, now stars as Spock. I thought that was quite a nice little note, so yeah. That's a fun one. Guys,
so
go on. Yes, go.
Spock has a line in the episode that caught, or in the movie that caught my attention. What is now required is a feat of linguistic legerdemain and a degree of intrepidity before the captain and Dr. McCoy freeze to death. And I thought, God, who would write something like that? And I also thought, but that actually sounds so Spock. Like that is so. And then I thought, oh right, Nimoy wrote it. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like that line in particular is so Spock, and of course Nimoy would pen it. So.
I mean, the advantage is that, like, Nimoy is one of those people who you have like two kinds of actor when it comes to their character and their relationship with that character, right? You have the Leonard Nimoys of the world who can you give them the script and they write it and it's like, yes, that is exactly Spock. You give them input on stuff like the Vulcan salute and you put them in a room with Mark Leonard and you get the formations of Vulcan culture. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have William Shatner directing Final Frontier as like a pure look into his like his psyche and his ego, or Patrick Stewart in season 2 of Picard, and stuff like the Argo Jeep, and it's like there's a wide spectrum in terms of Trek actors and how well they understand their own characters. But no, Nimoy definitely sits on the good end of that spectrum.
He's on the pinnacle of like there are other characters that many people have played, on the stage. Everyone has their Hamlets, everyone has their Macbeths. But in movies, there's different Bonds. In TV, there's different Doctors from Doctor Who. But just no one is going to touch. No one with any, sanity thinks anyone did it better than Leonard Nimoy, right? You could have a different favorite Doctor. You could have a different favorite Bond. No sane person thinks anyone did Spock better than Leonard Nimoy.
I'm going to say, just partly to be
Go on.
controversial, but partly because I believe it. I will say the only person who I think did Vulcan perhaps better or at least equal is Tim Russ. And that is not, he's not doing Spock, he's just doing a Vulcan and a full Vulcan at that. But I think in terms of who comes close to Vulcans across 1,000 episodes in all the movies is just kind of those two stand alone in my mind. So,
Mr. Vulcan,
well, because he's doing pure Vulcan, right? He is doing literal Mr. Vulcan. He's pure Vulcan. Spock is embodying that human Vulcan conflict inside. So.
Okay, a few fun things about this film. Obviously, we've just finished watching it.
I was going to prompt you. I know you have pages of.
Oh God, we got so much on this film. I've kind of, I dug through Memory Alpha and I thought, well, I'm not going to pull out every single bit of like production knowledge, but I'll pull out the first ones. Here's a fun part. So the dinner scene. Actually, no. Before I come to that, I'm going to go on to what was originally planned to happen in the prologue. So originally, a prologue was planned for this film, which was established that before they got the call to reassemble, they were actually in lots of different places. Kirk was in a revitalized relationship with Carol Marcus. Seems quite nice. McCoy was making a nuisance of himself by showing up drunk at medical celebrity events, as he despises the hypocrisy of it all. Which, okay, fine. Spock's status was classified. That makes sense. Uhura had become a radio show hostess. Yep.
Really?
Yep. Scotty was working as an engineering professor. Okay, makes sense.
This can't be real.
Yeah.
This is on Memory Alpha. Chekhov was competing as a not altogether successful chess grandmaster, losing to Betazoids. Which was an attempt to tie it into the Next Generation. And
these are bits we would come up with.
And Sulu was working as a taxi driver on some backwater alien colony.
Oh, fuck off.
This is originally like early plans.
Some of those completely on point. Some of those feel like they really hated the actor and didn't want them to have anything. Like Christ.
Yeah. So imagine
Why would
that.
you ever?
That's pretty cool. Okay, another fun fact before I hand it over to the Frank and Stas, how get your thoughts on it. So the blue food at the dinner table, we were all sitting there going, is that lobster? Is that, what is that? Some sort of weird seafood. Apparently it was so disgusting that the actors had to be bribed to eat it. Each actor was offered $20 for every bite. Shatner did it.
Ooh.
And won $240 before throwing up.
What the hell?
That's
How hard is it to just?
What was it? Do they list the food? Or?
According to Leonard Nimoy, it was chunks of squid treated with blue food colouring, which you got to imagine is going to be sat out there for a while. Reportedly,
Homo
Shat-
Yeah, if
Sapiens
it's
Club,
cold, that's
indeed.
no good. 'Cause I like a bit of squid and calamari and stuff like
if
that.
it's
but
been
if
sitting
cold
out while
or
you're
a bit
acting, because you've got to
rubbery-
say it's probably going to be there for a while. Reportedly,
Yeah.
Shatner was the only member of the cast to swallow any of it, and the first time Shat ate the coloured squid, he turned and looked right at Nick Mayer and said, "Where's my 20?"
Well, that's a true story.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a terrible food department. Terrible.
Yeah, that's not good.
I mean, we saw the kitchen in the Enterprise on this episode, so it doesn't surprise me. Frank and Stars, let's start with you, Frank. How did you feel about this film? Because, Frank, you had a bit more of a controversial take when we were talking about our pre-rating. You were definitely as one of the most emotional moments of your life, down to a 6 out of 10. So,
Well, so and this will sound so confusing. I do love this movie, obviously for the emotional connection. There's like 60% of it that's just damn outstanding. But then there's so much of it that's like, oh boy, you missed the mark big time when you look at everything from a bigger picture, to me, that it's hard for me to let go of. And I've seen it so many times that now when I watch it, I fixate on something and I make it fun. Like this time it was fire extinguishers. And, you know, I'll try and see, oh, well, whose uniform is changing, or who's got the, like, and Shai said it, the cinematography was just, mwah, it was so gorgeous. The set design was beautiful. The lighting was beautiful. Just the decor and the attention to detail on the Klingon uniforms was crazy good. And all of this stuff that gets lost in the nuance of, oh, well, they're going to eat blue squid now. And, you know, and I think Next Generation suffered from this because the show was basically over. All your good writers had gone to Deep Space Nine, and then there were rumblings in the tumbly of, oh, now we're going to create Voyager. So there's just big shakeups everywhere, and they say, oh yeah, hey, we still got a season of TV to write and a movie, and everybody's just stretched into different locations. I think this kind of suffered, and you can tell from the preamble that you just gave of, you know, O'Hora's out here saying, hey, all of today's best hits and tomorrow's on K-Star 107. You know, no, none of that makes sense. So I think I don't like how the end of the TOS crew, for us as people who love them, the story, loved the journey, loved all of it, is a bridge that just got blown up in the entire movie. There's all these extras standing at attention in the background the entire time. But now, hey, everybody fuck off. We're not going to be on stage. It's just our principals and the one blown up chair and the stuff that was hanging from the ceiling, not there anymore. And we're going to fly to the second star to the right and straight on till morning from Peter Pan. Like, all these people are old and tired. They just had a long day. They probably want to go to bed. So they're not even going to be on the bridge while the ship's going. And then they're going to wake up and go, okay, now we have to travel a whole day back to, like, that's silly. And they just stand there and they all come together to watch a view screen very sweetly. Why? Like that's kind of, that takes me out of it. That's kind of silly. There are a lot of little things like that I have problems with. Not the overall story, although at the very end, oh no, we have to go save this conference. Kirk shows up and clotheslines the Federation president like he's on the wrestling game with your Star Trek characters, knocks him down, introduces himself very politely, and then just tells the Klingon chancellor, hey, it wasn't me. And she looks over at Valeris and she's like, oh, well, it must be this one. Okay, we're good. I'm going to clap for you now while everybody else claps. What? No, they should be arrested for showing up, beaming in with weapons. Like, there should be a whole lot more going on. Anyway, I liked it. I enjoy it, but I do not rate it. And you're not going to know the order that I rate them in, but I'll say this. Insurrection is a better movie.
Ooh.
Yes, it is.
Ooh. All right. Falls over to you, Otto.
Wait a minute. Hold on. We're just going to let that float out there.
Okay, go. Rebuttal
By the way,
from
I thought
Shai.
no one. I thought no one could ramble nonsense quite like Idol, but Frank, you're coming close, so I got to give you props on that. But go ahead, since this is Shy's pick, I'll let him rebut.
I don't even need to rebut that. That statement in of itself is 2 + 2 = 3. Please continue.
Welcome to Pros and Cons, everyone. Yeah, go on.
All right, I'm going to say, because I do have a handful, let's say, of nitpicks with this movie. You didn't particularly like the end, Frank. I didn't particularly like the beginning. I'm not a huge fan of realpolitik in my Star Trek. I like the utopia, let's all be better. And to see a bunch of talking heads sit around using racist terms like alien trash and animals to describe another species that they're ostensibly trying to establish diplomatic relations with, it doesn't sit right with me. I want my heroes to be heroic, and I will say, I think Kirk walks it back in the next scene where he says, I should be better, or something along those lines. And he does kind of come to the realization later on, which I guess I'll transition there. It felt like William Shatner for the first half, which I didn't particularly enjoy, especially when he was cracking wise. But there's the moment when they're in the Ruapente about 60% of the way through, and I think I could delineate specifically where the switch happened. He says, some people are afraid of what might happen. I was terrified. McCoy asks him, what terrified you specifically? No more neutral zone. I was used to hating Klingons. It never even occurred to me to take Gorkon at his word. Spock was right. And I thought, okay, now I'm seeing the Kirk from the original series. Yes, he is a warrior, but he's a warrior first, but he's a diplomat second. And there is enough of, to be a Star Trek captain, you can't be just cracking wise and posing heroically. You have to have a little bit of the entire palette to paint your picture with. And I wasn't seeing it until that point. And after that, I thought he did much better as Kirk, but for me, there's always been a mental big disconnect between the series, the original series, and the movies. It almost feels sometimes like there's different characters playing them. Maybe it's just the gap of time, but
Next Generation has that problem as well. Like, there's definitely the movie era characters compared to what was previously established in TNG. But sorry, Karen.
Yeah. No, I probably rambled long enough. It is a good movie, but there are certain points, that jump out that I'm just, a little bit.
Well, let's before I hand it over to Stars, touch on one thing, because there was, appreciate this is like four white guys and Shy talking about racist issues. And
that's the name of the podcast, baby.
Is like, we're talking about the racist issues, and there were some definitely controversial things said in this scene in the council chambers and later on. Nichelle Nichols was outspoken quite vehemently about a couple of things of this film, including she originally had a line, "Would you let your daughter marry one?" talking about a Klingon, but that had to be cut because she refused to say it.
Yeah.
Chekhov saying, "Guess who's coming to dinner?" was also an Uhura line, but Nichols just said, "No, that's racist, I'm not saying it." Brock Peters had a lot of issues with his lines in the council chambers, to the point where they had to be shot several times because he was just like, I don't like the terms like bring them to their knees, and sort of various sort of like, race extermination lines, which don't echo well, but in the terms of like how this sits in the context of this film and the Cold War stereotypes and things like that, it is a very, very fine line of things that were spoken about here. And that's it.
I've gotten in trouble too many times on the stream for addressing racist comments, so I'm sitting out of this one. Good luck, Phyllis.
Yeah, I'm just gonna mention that and throw it out and then run away. There's the grenade. Drive.
So I think that, like, in terms of what the movie is doing, it's very clearly trying to tackle the Cold War mentality of everyone on both sides of a war, especially one that's allowed to percolate and ossify and turn into old leather. You become very comfortable with dehumanizing your enemy. Like, you start to believe that, like, people on the other side of the globe, or even not on the other side of the globe, like a few countries away, are inhuman monsters. And I would be willing to bet that if I went back through I probably wouldn't even have to look that hard through American or even United Kingdom news coverage from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s and find ways where we talk about other countries in a very similar way to the way that Kirk. Yeah, exactly. In fact, there's a certain world leader at the moment who still talks to people like that. And I absolutely understand why Peters and Nichols had an issue with those lines because they are very racially charged. I especially think that for her, it was a bad choice. Like, just don't. Why would you even? But like with Peters, I'm like, okay, I understand it from your perspective. But it's also so you're playing the bad guy, like one of the bad guys. So it's like I don't know, but it's his experience. I'm not going to speak for an incredibly talented actor and like a man who has a very different life experience to me. But it's also a case of like I understand your point, or that of like you want to see people in Star Trek being utopian, but it's that tension between what Roddenberry intended and then what Roddenberry actually did, and what about Star Trek works and what doesn't. Because you always have like the tension between TNG season 1, oh, we don't have headaches anymore, we have an evolved sensibility, versus the ability to like have character drama. And like if you go back to TOS original, like there's stuff like Styles being massively racist about Vulcans on the bridge of the Federation flagship, which has a half
Bones?
Vulcan. No, like Bones as well, but also Styles being even more explicit about it. These people are not perfect. And like there's stuff in like TNG as well, where like if you think about the way that certain people, like what's his name from Redemption, Data's first officer aboard Sutherland.
Yeah. I don't remember his name.
Yeah, would you let
Hobson.
Hobson, that's it. Would you let a Klingon be a counselor? It's like they're just not suited for that. And it's like these are elements that are in Star Trek and continue to be in Star Trek because, like, if you're going to mediate on the human tradition, on human nature and like the human condition, you kind of need to show the ugly side of it as well. And I think it's a very bold choice to have iconic characters like Captain Kirk and McCoy saying things that you'd go, ooh, if your uncle said it around the dinner table. I think it is a little bit tawdry. I think it's a little bit gauche, is the words I'd think about it. And I think that it could have been done with more subtlety. But then I also think about the fact that how often is Star Trek actually subtle? It's very often not subtle. That being said, that's me trying to give this movie like grace and trying to meet it. I think that it has a fairly binary pass-fail when it comes to certain characters, where it's like, I like it. I think its handling of Kirk and Spock is good. I think its handling of McCoy is good. Scotty is done well. And then you have characters like Uhura and Chekhov, where it's like, you didn't even fucking try. Where this is an embarrassment, and if I were the actors, I would feel offended that this is the final movie role I'm getting as this character. Guess what? I know for a fact I'm not one of the principal trio, but you're not treating me well. And especially with Nichols, like I could see this being an absolutely miserable experience for her. Like I feel bad for her. And I in retrospect, it makes me appreciate Strange New Worlds and the way it treats her more. Because I think that on the whole, in terms of the character perspective, I think it handles things fairly well. But then there are certain points where it's just a dull thud of, no, that didn't work at all. You should have tried again. And it, even down to those, this is where we meet the characters at the beginning. Some of those, completely fine. A lot of those, I'm like, do you even know the character? And I'm not sure if that's the case of, like, these two writing partners just not knowing the characters and having, like, funny ideas of how to get the gang back together. But it's just, it feels like a complete misread of what this movie feels like it's actually trying to be. I don't think it always succeeds.
I'd be interested to go back and see some of their other films that I mentioned earlier, Superman Quest for Peace and I forget which the other one was, to see if that kind of style of dialogue.
Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Sorcerer's Apprentice. Yeah.
Interesting is not the adjective for.
Well, no, that's very true. I would be interested. Other people might not be so much.
So, Stars, you said you kind of want your heroes to sound like your racist uncle. I'm paraphrasing a little bit.
Yes, you are, actually.
there's a reason I don't talk to certain people anymore, and
Yeah.
I think that the dinner scene actually encapsulated what what you want without the explicit language from the earlier scene. And I don't think they needed that language. They were they were shitty hosts, frankly.
Oh, they were
At a
yeah.
diplomatic
Really bad.
function, and they said certain things and reacted certain things where it's like, oh, I'm not proud of you guys, you know. And
Yeah.
I love the cast and the characters and the heroes and all that stuff, but it's like they could let you down in that way without saying things like alien trash. Like that's I don't know.
I mean, in fairness, the alien trash line is from Cot, right?
Well, yeah, but Kirk calls them animals, and it's like,
Yeah.
he's,
Well, I think
how many
even
Strange
Shatner
New
did push
Worlds?
back on that.
How many
yeah.
Strange New Worlds has he been to? He ought to know better.
Well, yeah.
So-
This is
Well, he's also lost his son to
I know,
like a
but
Klingon
still.
show.
that's
Yeah,
like
that does
movies
change.
ago.
your
Get
perspective.
over it.
Idle and
Yeah,
like the
not my finest
father in
moment.
this
Anyway,
equation, I have to point out, you would not.
I mean, they're
you would not.
Yeah.
Shy.
I know.
yeah. Well, look, yeah. I mean, they're very much. It's not just about the Cold War. That's very much an allusion to losses in the Vietnam War. You know, you have a whole generation of Americans who just racist against. I'm going to say Southeast Asians because of the Vietnam War. You know, and it can turn otherwise normally very kind, welcoming people just for this one segment of people. It just triggers something in them that just makes them irrationally racist. It's a real thing, and all these terms that that were like, you know, getting to you are things that people said. They're actual things, and that what I love about this movie is that it doesn't shy away from, and really it's the first one that points out the sort of colonialism of the Federation, the sort of human-centric colonialism of the Federation. You know, I think it's not racism existed in Star Trek in TOS. Like Balance of Terror is probably my favorite episode of TOS, and Lieutenant Styles is in there throwing epithets and shade at Spock, particularly once he sees the Vulcans left and right.
I think, yeah.
And there is this divide amongst Star Trek fans about, like, there are the older school Star Trek fans who are like, I like my Star Trek to be utopian, without as much conflict as New Trek has. But you know, the saying is utopia is not a place; it's a direction, right? You have to constantly work towards utopia. It's not just something you achieve and then it just stays that way. It's a process. It's a journey.
I mean, I'm in two minds about it because, like, you know, my own thoughts. I do absolutely love this film, but like on some level, it's like, okay, it's great because Kirk makes these mistakes and he learns on his journey, and it's the hero's journey. He gets something out of it, and he realizes that his old prejudices shouldn't be the direction. He has a speech at the end in the conference room. We shouldn't work towards all this animosity as everyone enthusiastically claps despite not knowing what's going on.
Oh, if you were in the room, you would clap too, idling. You know, it's,
Something happened quick. It's like that confused girl gif. She's just like, yeah, what happened? What? Okay, yeah. But at the same time, I'm like, well, like what we said earlier, Kirk has been to so many strange new worlds, to so many different planets, met so many alien species. He's literally probably spoken about these very topics himself. He has the age and the experience to know. He should know better at this point, I feel. But like you say, he's got the PTSD from his son dying and, you know, being killed by Cruise in Star Trek 3. And I was very crass earlier, and I do apologise for that because I have children and that wouldn't be great. I felt that was one of those things I said, and I felt really bad afterwards. But you know, at the same time, you kind of think
that's the middle. That's
you have
the middle
kids?
square on our bingo game. Is Idol apologizes for saying something on stream.
yeah. But yeah, no, but you know, Kirk feels like he should be that kind of captain to look up to that should be better than that. He should be the one that's telling the people on the ship, you know, balance of terror, you know, I will not tolerate bigotry on my bridge, you know, is literally the definition of that episode when he's talking about Spock. And the same thing with, even Spock kind of addresses it a little bit with his own heritage here. But sorry, go on, Stars.
It's one of those things where it's like, it's very easy to say, oh, well, he's been to a million, like, you know, strange new worlds, and you know, he's spoken
easy,
about
thanks.
prejudice and
I'd said it quite
tolerance. And then it's like, cool, how many of those strange new worlds killed his son? Like, that kind of does a lot of heavy lifting for me here.
Yeah.
And it's also a case of, I don't know if this is like a dumb point, but it's like, if we're talking about this on the sliding scale of realism versus utopian ideas of what a character is and what humanity could be, given how many people will say uncouth and offensive things at a dinner table, how many of them in your real life do you have any faith will ever change at an older age? And is it not more utopian to come across a character who has these outmoded ideas and ideals and actually does manage to grow past them? Because I feel like that might be the most unrealistic part of the entire movie, but also the most idealistic and most utopian is the idea that, yes, you can actually overcome prejudice. And Gorkon kind of gestures at it as, if there's going to be peace, it's going to be the most difficult for our generation. Like
the undiscovered country.
I thought that line was really, really interesting, and I think Gorkon is actually kind of like an underrated character for just how much of a presence and how much he tells you about Klingons in very short screen time. Like, he's only in the first quarter of the movie, if that, maybe the first third.
He has exactly 133 words in the entire film.
Exactly. His presence hangs over the entire thing.
He makes every one of them count.
He's the assassinated, civil rights leader. He's the assassinated Messiah, and he's the
catalyst,
the path that everyone else in the film is trying to follow. Yeah.
I think ultimately I have a problem with the writing, and you've really opened it up and nailed it for me, where I can encapsulate it into words. There are 6 Star Trek films that feature the original crew. 5 of them feature Klingons. The only one that doesn't is Khan. And at this point, after years, after decades of them being on the same ship and encountering, in the previous film in Star Trek V, we were buddy-buddy at the end with the Klingons. Except for, the one guy says, "I'm sorry," and everybody's all, ha, 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 ha. And, everything's fine. And now suddenly, they're the alien trash and all this stuff because, we have to put a bow on this because we've already got this other show 4 seasons deep and a Klingon's on the bridge. And he's a very well-regarded person. So I guess we need to put a bow on this and show how did we come to peace with everybody. And they've mentioned Kittimer a couple of times, so we'll just bring this in here. And it just, it missed to me because we regressed as characters. These are supposed to be the flagship of the Federation, the best of the best. And we're spoiled in modern times with Strange New Worlds and, of course, Next Generation and all these other ships with crew that would go out of their way to make sure that it was a good diplomatic relation and it was a good dinner, and they actually tried, instead of just this group of old farts that are like, fuck it, whatever, let's just get drunk, they'll leave. It just, it makes a lot of sense that the people that came up with this also did Superman 4, because that was so bad. Christopher Reeve threw his hands up and said, "I'm going to go ride a horse. I can't."
Oh, Jesus.
Okay. Let me just put a bow on this, so we can move on, because there's a
lot
lot of
how
stuff to
awesome
talk
the
about.
Is.
I just want to say that line that I referenced that he says in the next scene. How on earth, Kirk says this, how on earth can history get past people like me?
I did like that line.
Could a true bigot be that self-aware to say that? I don't think so. I think he has his prejudices, and ultimately the arc in the movie does show that he does move at least past some of that, and so I do appreciate that. I'm just saying that the early scene kind of made me uncomfortable with some of the language they used, but I don't blame it solely on Kirk, and obviously he's self-aware enough that you can respect at least how he came to those feelings.
Yeah, I absolutely do think that the writing goes a little bit too hard and too fast in terms of trying to justify itself a little bit. It really needs to drum up for you. And if you were to do this nowadays, you'd probably want way more of a build-up. Instead of Star Trek V being a fucking ego trip, it would be an actual build to this movie, ideally. That was actually more about the relationship with the Klingons, but we didn't really get that, so they have to kind of hit you hard, fast with an emotional reaction. And I think that they do go a bit, like I said, gauche. It's tawdry. It's a little bit too much. And it's a case of I don't know what the runtime is on this. I feel like it's almost exactly 2 hours ish.
No, that was only about an hour and a half. That was
Was it really?
Yeah, it wasn't that
No,
long
I
at all.
think
Yeah,
it's a
it's
bit
tight.
longer than
It's a tight
Did you
movie.
say 143?
Hang on, let me
Yeah,
go back.
it's
The
not
version
an
we
hour and a half,
watched
but it's like
which was the
Oh yeah, it is 143. Okay, yeah.
yeah, which then that was not the director's cut. The director's cut is a bit longer. Let me have a quick look. The director's cut is 153, and
Has an
Yeah,
extended love making scene in it.
see, here's why I
let me
buy.
Yeah.
149. Yeah,
Here's why I buy Kirk's sort of like viciousness and like it's because those moments what you're seeing on screen is he's talking to like his best friend, right, or his personal log. Like those are the moments where you show like the really kind of, you know, he's basically his therapist, Spock and Bones are his therapist. He's like expressing like his darkest inner thoughts to his father confessor there, and you know, that's not something that he would necessarily like he would say in public. And so, but he has enough self-awareness to realize that like these are not great thoughts, but he can't get over it
yeah.
until he meets Gorkon.
And Kirk's not necessarily the problem in all of this. It's more like the attitude of like some of the people of the Federation, the people conspiring. It's just mainly it's making Kirk being forced to confront these feelings that maybe he's perhaps ignored. But yeah.
Well, yeah, because I actually want to talk about that a little bit. So, I find it very interesting, like as a thought exercise of trying to work out what the plan actually was, because like you have the whole like, okay, we need to get the Enterprise to fire on Gorkon 1, okay, on Kronos 1, and obviously they can't actually rig it to do it, so they get the cloaked bird of prey to do it. Were they anticipating they would actually go into a fight there and it would just break out into all-out war? Or do you think that they accounted for Kirk? Like, because I always wondered, does Kirk actually surrendering there, was that factored into the plan? Did Valeris know that would happen? Or were they scrambling to fix it after that? I'm curious about that.
Valeris was a patsy, like at the end of the day. She was sort of like used for her beliefs to like kind of. So if she'd have died in the battle, that's a tie lost. But I think they kind of did when Kirk backed up and then they sort of boarded the ship. They'd kind of think on their feet a little bit, and the plot moved along that way. Went, okay, fine, we'll try him and send him off to Rurapenthe and kill him there.
Because I think if you run with the assumption that the plan was straight up, you know, Chang will take command after Gorkon is killed and will blow into full straight on war, and Kirk avoids that, that gives him like a lot of credit, like for someone who is holding these prejudices and who managed to completely fuck up the diplomatic dinner. When the chips are down and it actually counts, he does manage to pull it out and do the smart thing, even if he doesn't comport himself particularly well in more fine situations.
If we're doing thought
Yeah, and something I noticed this.
Go ahead, Shay.
I was just saying something I noticed on this viewing is in the early conference scene when they announced that it's Kirk going to this meeting. Brock Peters has a look on his face. He's like, "Oh, I don't know if this is going to work." Like, there's like a look of like concern on his face. He's like, "I think this will work, but I'm not sure." Like, it wasn't entirely according to plan. But
yeah, I wasn't sure
go
how to
on.
read that. I was like, I wasn't sure if that was a case of, oh, I don't know if the plan will work, or if it was a case of we already have the plan in motion. I feel bad that it's Kirk that's going to get caught in the crossfire here.
Yeah, it's all of that. Peters is great in that like little brief shot.
And then Kirk says, "Well, I'm inclined to agree with Admiral Cartwright," and he's like,
Right.
Maybe he is on my side. Okay.
Yeah, he plays like, well, sorry, I didn't mean to step over you there.
Yeah, if we're doing thought exercises, what if Valeris was the go call and the plan may have been set up, but they weren't sure whether to go until she hears him recording that log. She hears the hatred he has for the clan, and she thinks, I'm sitting on a powder keg. If we go now, there's no way they'll avoid firing at each other. And so, and either way,
she tries to
I don't think it
convince
even
Spock.
mattered, because as long as they kill Gorkon, they think that might be enough to end the peace talks, regardless of how the Enterprise reacts. So even if, you know, Kirk were to surrender, even if that was factored in, as long as they get Gorkon, they could still end the peace.
Yeah, now you actually got me kind of thinking. It's like we see Valeris and Spock talking, and like, you know, they mentioned, you know, neither of us were hearing very well that night, and I almost wonder, like, do you think? I don't think Kirk would have gone for it, but I wonder almost if Valeris thought she had a shot of convincing him to join in on the conspiracy. I almost wonder, but I think she's cautious enough not to have done it, which is why we get the thing. But like, I wonder if it was a thought in her head, or if she was like, "We've got a plan, I got to stick to it."
No, every sophomore thinks they can outwit their philosophy professor, right? Like, oh, here, I've come up with this brilliant proof.
Yes.
I can get out of this big
Yeah.
Cartesian
Yeah.
hole.
Spending too much time on Klingon GPT. Like, no, it says it here. Look.
So we've been talking about how it's like going from a character point of view, and that's always my go-to for like a story. But I had to say, like, the fact that we can do these thought exercises and think about like the tactical scenarios of how it would play out, I think it does speak to a kind of a strength of the movie, which is that like the political situation is nicely sketched out, and there's a good amount of thought given to people being in the right place at the right time, and the mystery of it is quite well constructed. I think the conspiracy is quite good.
This is another point. This is amazing because we've been ragging on it a little bit, but actually one of the film's amazing strengths for me is, and again we spoke about how this is one of Nicholas Meyer's strengths, is just how this feels like a proper naval combat. This is Master and Commander a little bit. Again, you know, you've got the crew, they're all out cooking. You've got sort of like the conference rooms, they're all set up. There's people working around. You've got the sense of when they're going through the drawers. These are real people, crews drawers. It's a ship in action. It's listing to the right. You've got to set the rudder to half mark. You know, that feels good. I love when Star Trek does that, and they did that in the Wrath of Khan, and they kind of have stepped away from it. There is a couple of Strange New Worlds episodes where they kind of lean back into, you know, the ship feeling like a ship, like a naval vessel, and this crew has to work to a chain of command. And it's like Otto says something, he likes the competency porn side of it. It's like, I need to see like a crew in action rather than kind of just like, you know, a little bit of jingoism and a few choice words and then the captain saves the day. So that definite strength of this is it made the Enterprise feel alive as well, and adds sort of like a little bit of weight into the universe.
I'm going to shout out composer Cliff Idleman, who did the music for this.
Yeah.
Anytime you heard da 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 da, that meant that scene's going to be a fucking banger. Like whenever you hear that da 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 da, it's going to be a good scene, and it was. And a lot of that is used in conjunction with the ship stuff, the battles and whatnot, but also some of the intrigue where you, like you said, even rifling through drawers. Yeah. This guy's going hard on the score, and I'm like, whoa, you didn't need to go save it for the ship battles, but he gives us that while they're doing the intrigue, and that really helps elevate it.
All right.
Another thing to your earlier point, Idle, just talking about the naval-esque of it, something I never really appreciated until much later into viewings, and I paid attention to it today, just like fire extinguishers, was both for Sulu and Kirk, when they're transmitting something to another ship or talking, send this, they purposely leave out words because it's just like, in the early 1900s, when you're sending over everything over wire, you don't want to put in just pointless words. So send a command Enterprise, we stand ready to assist. Like, you could have more, or
it's cool.
You know, send this, and it's
telegram
missing words,
language.
but and I think that's a little neat thing that they still do hundreds of years later. It's like, okay, they're adhering to tradition.
Tell them we have no idea. Location Enterprise.
Location Enterprise. Yeah,
that's good.
Got a
Okay.
hearing problem.
Sulu was so good in this film. This is just makes you feel like so sad that we never got that Sulu series.
Sulu really does come out of this movie smelling like roses. Like, freaking, like, Takei gives an absolutely incredible performance. Everything on Excelsior is incredible. Yeah. You absolutely buy him as a ship commander who has all the metal of Kirk, but is a very different style of commander. Like, he's cool. I love him.
He's got, I think, the appropriate sternness for captain. Because I complained, I'm like, oh, they promoted everyone else to captain. No one else got their own ship. Well, look, I love Uhura and Chekhov and Scotty. I'm not sure I see them being the same type of captain that Sulu is. He's got the sternness, and just the loyalty, actually, is another big part of it that I really love. But I'll say that for later.
Yeah, any taste of that. That's why even though it's just an okay episode, the Voyager episode flashback is so good because you get extra tastes of Sulu's Enterprise and like that Sulu adventure that's happening during Star Trek 6, I guess. And then even, you know, just to toot my old Star Trek New Voyages family, they have an episode that has George Takei called World Enough in Time, where they bookend it with him as Captain Sulu on the Excelsior. So that's a great little treat for hardcore fans out there. And it's also actually their best episode. Star Trek New Voyages is the best episode in my opinion. So
okay, before we move
Idle,
on... go on. Oh, sorry.
You were talking Excelsior. Is there something about that you wanted to gush about?
Oh, it's just a gorgeous ship. It's just really, and seeing, we have a great little ship battle section in this, with the whole Spock and McCoy sort of loading the torpedo, and we see sort of the Klingon ship exploding, and the many times we'll see it in the future as well. But that whole sequence where Kirk gives this hammy fire, and we get both ships coming together, and it's just a gorgeous little bit of, and it's not long. It's literally like 6 seconds long, but it's just a gorgeous little bit of ship battle. You see both the ships in their prime, and it's just works really
The
well.
bird of prey rocking, like it's really
weird.
hard to get physics right in ship battles or video games or whatever, but just the rocking back and forth as it gets hammered, I'm like, oh yeah.
I also have to admit, I really like because the Excelsior gets kind of a bum rap in the movies, because you go from like Star Trek 3, where it is explicitly a joke.
Let
Star Trek
Captain
4,
buy a
you
joke.
have exactly. Star Trek 4, it gets literally like they try and throw out a space dock, it immediately fails. It's not even in 5, and then you get here, and it's like, okay, the Excelsior actually has a competent captain. It's properly out of it's got a normal warp drive, and it finally gets to do something cool.
Fly her apart then.
Yeah, exactly. So it actually gets to do like a proper hero treatment, and I think like they kind of extend that into generations by making the Enterprise B and Excelsior class as well. But it's just nice to, like, I don't necessarily know if it's like narratively satisfying that they just kind of decide, no, the Excelsior is actually cool, or if it's just a case of
It is.
or if it's just a case of the captain makes that much of a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. If you take it holistically, that really drives home the point. Idol will like this. Certain guys, if they do their wrestling finish on someone, the other guy will never kick out. But if a different wrestler tries to use your finish, it's not as effective. They can't do the damage with it. That's what makes the ship as the captain, and they hammer that in like a dozen different TOS episodes.
Well, yes.
The man makes the ship, and I really like that.
Scotty says it. Scotty says it at the end. Not so big as their captain, I think.
And you see it like we say, the film opens with Sulu. He's got his nice cup of tea. We see the gorgeous chair he's sitting in. You get a nice beauty shot of the Excelsior running its way through the Praxis explosion, and it's great, and it's just a gorgeous
shields.
Then he gets
By the way, I love
Parkinson's
how
and drops it.
Yeah. Not
I
enough
love
fire
how only
extinguishers.
one guy on the entire Excelsior prepared for that collision. He's still like driving the ship. Everyone else is climbing on the floor trying to get back to their chairs.
Even Sulu's like on the deck, like peeling himself up, barking orders. Is like, what hit us? Praxis is gone. All right. Before we go on to our bread, got a question for you guys. This is the final TOS film for this cast. Which two characters is this their final Star Trek appearance?
We're including fan films.
We are not including fan films, no. Sorry. It's cheating.
I know the answer, but I won't jump in.
Okay.
Well, let's see. Scotty does TNG. Bones
Yep.
does TNG. Spock does TNG.
Yeah, Sarek does
Are we
TNG.
counting Chekhov and Picard, his voice?
Let's say we are not talking in timeline chronology.
Chekhov is the
but
generations.
Filming time.
Oh, films.
Uhura never does anything again.
Yeah,
That's one.
Except
That's a really good one.
have the animated appearance in Prodigy, Star Trek Prodigy, when they have the holograms of it.
Technically. That was a
Yeah. Big fans.
I was gonna joke and say Valtane, but he even shows up in Voyager again, so I can't say.
He does.
Is it Dax?
It's not Dax. The original cast. I'll let you off. It's DeForest Kelly. Because Encounter at Farpoint was shot before this.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Trick
This is
question.
his final appearance. Everyone else appears later on. Scotty and Chekhov appear in Generations. Spock, obviously,
in roles that were originally meant to be DeForest Kelly and Leonard Nimoy.
Exactly. Okay, it is time for our bread, the moment or sequence in a film or TV show that stood out to you the most. Shy, since this is your baby, what was your bread of the episode?
Of the oh god.
I'm sorry, of the movie.
That's
Sorry, I'm so used to
impossible.
saying episode. I just meant movie.
I mean, I do love the Don't wait for the translation line. That's it's answer the question. Don't wait for the translation.
Yes.
It's I know it's rough. I know it's very vicious, but the
That's what I wanted
mind
to
meld
talk about.
interrogation
Yeah.
is just intense
Visceral.
filmmaking. Like it's
King Control sells that so well. It's
Yeah.
you feel the pain.
They both do. The pain on Nimoy, like he doesn't really want to be doing that. Like he's so like betrayed by her. Like yeah.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but it's meant to be.
It's very uncomfortable.
Well, let me ask because I was going to bring this up anyways. Spock physical violence we don't get a ton of, and then doing it in public on the bridge. His father says in the episode, Sarek, it's a terrible intimacy. Spock knows that. It made me think of the few times in New Trek where the person performing the mind meld explicitly asks for consent first, which I find an interesting sign of the times. Were any of you uncomfortable in that scene for a reason that you think may not have been intended?
No, I think it's like I was exactly as uncomfortable as they wanted me to be. It's not meant to be it's a unheroic act done for incredibly heroic reasons.
It's not even it's not even like a torture. It's an assault. You know, this is not torturing someone to get their information. Like I think you said, Shy, like 24 Jack Bauer style. This is a very personal assault with multiple levels of conflicting feelings about it.
I didn't understand it at the time when I first saw it. I didn't know why the woman was moaning, and I thought that was weird. And then as I got older, I realized what it is. For a while, I carried that it was out of character for Spock to do that, and it was not my favorite choice. But also, from a writing standpoint, you have to get the information uncovered, and when it's Vulcan on Vulcan, that's pretty much the only way it's going to happen. Can't hold her at gunpoint; she doesn't care. Now, I agree with Stars. It makes me uncomfortable in just the right way because it was Spock letting that human side come out once again, saying, "I will sacrifice myself for the betterment of everybody. If this leads to some sort of condemnation of me, or I get in trouble, or whatever I am doing to violate this other person, I accept that because there's a lot more at stake than just me." And I viewed it as once again Spock being human. He is the best human.
Yeah, and I think in terms of it being like, it's one of those. In terms of it being a public spectacle, like I feel like that adds to the uncomfortableness of it all. Like, not that it would be more comfortable if it were, in a private thing, but it's also a case of this is a conspiracy being blown wide open. You need people to witness it, unfortunately. So it's like, if the truth will out. But yeah, I think that Spock probably carried the shame and the guilt of that to his grave.
I mean, I think going to the planet, shooting the people that were trying to shoot the president, it kind of outs the conspiracy. Just for the record,
Yeah, but they didn't know who was in there. That's probably.
I thought doing it in public was performative beyond what was necessary, and it's a nitpick, but I don't know. Maybe I'm getting squeamish as I get older, but.
Stars. Bread.
Oh, there's a lot of loaf here.
Gotta butter that bread.
I think it might just be target that explosion and fire, because I think that like that's the thing. Shatner goes for the ham and the cheese, the dramatic zoom in, the fire, and it's just like. I've always been of the opinion that, like, I agree with Nicholas Meyer. Like, you guess what? You get him to do 50 takes, eventually he'll give you a good performance. And I think it was good, but I preferred the restraint of Decay just going like a professional, just target that explosion and fire with such steel to him. Like, one of the few bits of Into Darkness that I appreciate is Sulu in the command chair saying, "Do not test me, you will fail," and that you see like the roots of that moment here, and it's just like there's something about the inflection and the way he does it, and just the build up, and then the destruction of the Klingon bird of prey. Like that's the real climax of the movie. Like in terms of like the visceral action part of it, anyway. Like the emotional climax is obviously down on Camp Kittimer, but yeah, that'd be my bread, is target that explosion and fire.
Nice. Frank, go for your bread.
I'm going to go just a little bit outside the norm. I'm going to say all of the cinematography and the shots of the inside of the Enterprise. This is our farewell to the old girl. This is our farewell to the crew. We got more walking and talking shots of the galley, shots of crew quarters, shots of a dude with a metal detector like he's at the beach.
Fucking love it.
Fire
His day, that
extinguishers. So many cool parts of the ship, other sets that they, redesigned or redressed from other things, but just we spent a lot of time on the ship and we got to see her, and we got to see so much of her, and not a bit of it was wasted. And it makes me happy to watch that film and go, okay, this is not Scotty hitting his head on a bulkhead and falling over like in the last movie.
Yeah.
And then magically going up 70 decks on magic flying shoes. This is serious. There are stakes, and the ship has always been a character, and it was used well.
Bread me auto.
Idle.
Oh.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay.
Someone's got to look out for you, baby.
That's true. I think just literally the opening the film with Sulu in command, and that shot moving up from the teacup up to him drinking it, and it's just like it starts to shake, and that whole sort of like opening sequence, and you're like, oh, hang on, we're seeing progress from our characters that we love so much. We've seen Sulu. He's not his best moments in the film, especially Final Frontier when he's chasing the Klingon female around. Not great. The first time, finally, he gets some work as the character he should be, as full-blown captain, to the point it's that impressive they end up bringing him back for Voyager for the flashback episode with Tuvok, which is brilliant. So yeah, my bread is just like, we're not opening with Kirk, we're not opening with the Klingon diplomacy or any of the stuff you saw in the trailers. Nope. It's going to be a Sulu episode for the first 10 minutes here. Yeah, bring it on. That's my bread.
And Frank, do you remember, like, my theater cheered when Sulu appeared? Because I saw it opening weekend, like, in college, and my theater, like, went crazy when it was Sulu captaining that ship.
And it was such a welcome surprise, because the theater was packed when I saw it, because it was, like, 4 days after open, but it was leaning towards the weekend, so like it was full of nerds. Of course, it's a Star Trek movie, and it was such a welcome surprise that, oh, it's Sulu. Oh, he's captain. Oh my God, he's on the. Whoa, this is so cool. And then you see Janice, and you're like, yeah, this is great. And yeah, it was one of those things. People think that people cheering in movie theaters is something new, like that happens in Avengers movies or something that you see on YouTube, and it sounds horrible. Oh no, this has been happening for a long time. And when the Klingon ship got blown up, everybody cheered. Like, yeah.
Auto.
Also iconic is just the shot of the little cup moving closer and closer to the edge crash. Like that would probably be my second bread. My bread is the only line I quote from this movie. Things gotta have a tailpipe. I love that line. It's a very versatile line. So
keeping it simple.
It is a very ready line.
I think if I was going to take a second bread, mine would be, and it never really occurred to me until you guys sort of point out in this film, because I always sort of just like, you watch parts of this film offhand. So when McCoy turns to Kirk and he goes, "What is it with you anyway?" Like 30 years later, like what? How? How'd you keep doing this?
It's so good.
It is good. All right, let's go for
The best advice I can give you is to just be yourself.
You're the worst thing that ever happened to Zek. You're the worst thing that ever happened to me.
Actually, that's the second best piece of advice.
In fact, you're the worst thing that ever happened to the entire Ferengi Alliance.
No.
No. Just stop saying that.
Best and worst moments of the episode. That's never going to get old. Let's go reverse order. Let's start with you, Otto. What was your best and worst moment? Haha.
I already kind of spoke about him, so I'll be brief. My worst was that first scene. Again, I leaned toward more of the utopian stuff, so I didn't care for the realism or some of the language used. My best, even though this is kind of a thinky movie because of all the moving pieces, I like occasionally to turn my brain off and be told what to think. And when I hear da 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 da, and I know to pay attention, I appreciated that. They didn't overuse it, but when they use it, it's going to be good.
It's an incredible audio stem.
And
Like,
just
hear
the
it, you're like,
simplicity of like, they didn't betray it either. They didn't play it and then do something shitty. Like anytime they played it, it was going to be good. And I just appreciated being told every so often, all right, pay attention, this one's going to be good. So I like that. Idol.
Yes. So I'll go with my worst, which I haven't really got a lot of, despite what we've been talking about earlier, I haven't really got a lot of bad things to say. I mean, we've spoken about worst parts in other episodes that have been particularly egregious. This doesn't particularly have a bad moment I can point to that's like especially egregious. But I'll just point to the fact that why are we foot shaming the crewman who didn't kill them? Of course he doesn't wear boots. He's got specialist footwear. And Stars is like, doesn't his feet get cold? I'm like, he's an alien. You don't know his anatomy. He could have self-regulating heat.
I'm thinking of his comfort. I want Dax to be happy.
Yeah, this poor aliens just come in. They're just like, I was you, and it's like, and everyone's just got their head in their hands. So I'm like, yeah, no, okay, let's maybe not so professional with everyone's in there just pointing at the poor young crewman. My best scene is I'm gonna go for the Klingon courtroom part. That's just pure brilliance, and especially the part where Chang is talking in Klingon, and he's like, and you switch to the translator, who's doing the UN thing, and he's sort of translating it, and then it switches back to Chang, who's then speaking English, and it's a perfect little transition to go like, yeah, of course we're not going to speak Klingon to you for this next 15 minutes worth of a trial. We're going to but we're just going to hammer home the point that's why
Discovery, whatever,
yeah, exactly. But yeah, so and I thought that was a nice little transition, and it was a good little courtroom scene. We got to see Michael Dorn, who apparently was only told he was going to be his own grandfather in this film as the script people were walking past the set on TNG. So yeah, it was a great scene. It's good to see like other cultures sort of courtroom trials, especially the scene with McCoy trying to crack a joke and the one guy laughing and McCoy trying to pass it off.
That's so good. He's so happy to get the laugh.
That's pretty good.
So that is my best and worst. Frank, best and worst.
No surprise, I'll start with worst, and it's the ending. I could have written a million different ways to do it that are better. I would have had Kirk take all his officers down, not say second star to the right. I would say set course for Starbase 1 and go at whatever speed. Unnamed ensigns, you guys come take over the bridge. Officers, come meet me in the mess. Where we started the film, we're going to end the film. We're going to have dinner as a family one more time, and I'm going to say my log out loud. This ship's going to go into the future, becoming no one has gone before, but it has been my great honor to serve with all of you. Thank you. You're my family now. Anything like that would have been a million times better than just everybody staring into the view screen. Wow, a star. I've never seen that. Huh. Wow, that chair got blown up. Somebody probably died in it. Oh, well. Scoot it out of the way so we can see. Oh, camera's moving. Let me get in closer. Oh. So yeah, no, thank you. Best, anything with both David Warner and Plummer. Those two earned their paycheck 10 times over. The dinner scene, Warner is top tier class act. If Plummer had just quoted 5 less lines of Shakespeare, it would have been immaculate. He went a little bit too much in the writing, but yeah, it just their nuances and their facial expressions and their nonverbal, what they were actually thinking and saying, masterclass only done with actors that are as good as they are. And Shy could do it, obviously.
Stars, best worst.
So I think my worst is I'm gonna have to just go for almost any Chekhov and Uhura scene. I think probably the worst Chekhov scene is why not simply vaporize them? It's like you're the fucking weapons officer. What the fuck?
Waypoint.
As you know, Commander Chekhov, fuck off. Fuck off. It's embarrassing.
He's just
That is
explaining it
bad
for the log.
exposition.
He's
For the
also head of
log?
exposition.
Fuck off. My feelings on the Klingon translation scene, guess what? It's funny. I feel exactly the same way Nichelle Nichols feels about it. It is an embarrassment. It is not a good scene. I am just as pissed as she was about it. Guess what? Best. How the fuck have we not just said Gorkon both from an acting perspective, but also just writing perspective? Like, I know you mentioned David Warner, but it's like that is the kind of Klingon who, along with Martok, makes the Klingons make sense as a political political entity and as a race and as a people. Gorkon is so, and he has such a small presence, like what, 130 words or whatever?
Yeah.
That's tiny. But Warner is so good at selling it with such a gravitas and like a world weariness, and you can start filling in the blanks about who he was before he was Chancellor, based on what everyone talks about him, and it's like,
Oh, go
he's
play
this,
Klingon
like,
Academy. It's all in there.
well, yeah, he's this like almost quasi-messianic figure, but you don't really like hold that against, because guess what? Someone has to be like the person who will stump for peace, who clearly believes in it, and just like, you know, you don't trust me. You know, we're gonna have the hardest time living in this new future. Little bits of humor, like you've not heard Shakespeare until you've heard him in the original Klingon. How did nobody laugh at that? Come on, guys, that's hilarious. Yeah,
I'd like to
Gorkon.
point out, I don't know if anyone noticed, in the Discord event announcement for the Undiscovered Country, I did put in parentheses OV. So I hope someone picked up on that little in-joke. I guess not. Anyway, please continue.
Nah, you're all good.
If it works,
Yeah, I think he has such a small presence, and yet you feel it so acutely. He's incredible. He's my favorite part. I guess what weird part, like Stars likes the Klingon, but you know, I also just really love the Colonel Worf cameo. I think that's really really cute. Really didn't need to be there. It could have been literally anyone in the Klingon makeup, but it's just very fun. And it ties a nice little bow on the Camp Kittimer thing with Worf and why he was, you know, raised there with Moog and everything. It's just really, really nice and neatly cute. Maybe a little bit too cute, but guess what? It's for me. I don't care.
Neat
So
little
that's my
package.
best.
Hey,
Exactly. I love
to be
the Klingon
fair
shit.
to be fair to Chekhov not knowing about the whole weapons thing at this time, he was a chess grandmaster. He was not involved in weapons. Uhura was doing radio show. She wasn't doing translating. I mean, these
The
people.
weird
get
thing was,
rusty.
she was doing a
That's
radio
all.
show on Klingon, on Kronos. Like, she
Yeah,
she should
that's
know.
wild.
Yeah. Shy, best
The
of
least
worst.
believable part about those proposed prologue stories that you mentioned is the idea that Carol Marcus would have anything to do with Captain Kirk after the death of their son. Like everything she feared would came to pass the second he came back into the son's life. And yeah, Gorkon's a huge badass. I like that there's an implication that he clearly killed whatever that tusk cane came from, probably with his bare
I believe
hands,
it.
right? Probably with
Yeah.
a bat left. Yeah. My worst moment, I think people called attention to it during the movie, is it's not the CGI blood. At the time, we suspended our disbelief. We're like, this is where it is. We get it.
Yeah.
It's the bad Captain Kirk split screen on Repenthe during the fight,
Oh, yeah.
where their
Must be
eye
the
lines
Ultimate
are not
version.
meeting,
Yeah.
and he points over his
Points
head.
high. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, I have to imagine that Shatner had a stand-in, but he was like, no, I'll act it by myself.
Get me a
I
mirror.
do not need a stand-in.
Only William Shatner could act with himself and get his marks wrong.
Well, look, here's the thing. If you're yourself, you know exactly how high you are. There's no excuse for pointing up to the ceiling.
Oh,
Just
look,
point
maybe
straight
it is-
over.
Bill, I managed it.
Maybe it's so deep. He was like, Marcia's shorter than me, so she would instinctually point taller than
Yeah,
herself.
Marcia is a student my shape. She must therefore be smaller than me. It's like, what?
Or
No, Bill, that's
he
not how it works.
was standing on the little guy's box. That's what he was hired.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, clearly.
I like to think that he was actually,
and
it was actually
my,
the police had turned up and they had their guns drawn and like they'd turned up on set for some false crime and he was just pointing to David Bowie, the notably tall guy. No, shoot him, not me.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Sorry.
my favorite moments are predictably the Sulu moments. He creates a captain that is unique, right? Like that was always a concern. Like, is Patrick Stewart going to just be a clone of Captain Kirk? No, he created his own distinct captain, and Sulu came in here and he was captain with his own flavor, with his own distinct style, and it was so good that Star Trek fans have been suckling off of this like 15 minutes of him as captain
Yeah.
for 35
Trek
years
fans.
now.
You can admit,
Star Trek
Sean, it's
fans.
okay.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I'll admit it. I am the only Star Trek fan here. No.
The last room.
Just the quiet ways he knows how to disobey Starfleet regulations. It just
Yeah.
uh,
You're breaking up.
we do not know location Enterprise, and then he just with a quick little, did I freaking stutter, Christian Slater? No, I don't think I did. To him, like you're breaking up, your signals breaking up. It's all good. It's all understated, and it's just beautifully done. And but I love the whole movie as a whole. But that always stuck out with me. Like whenever I cue this up just to have something playing in the background, I know I'm automatically going to get brought in by the explosion followed by the teacup being lifted up. So.
And you're in. Well, I think it is in fact time for our...
I can show you my rating code.
Schiller rating 3.5. Associational rating norm -3.
That's much too low a rating.
Was not accustomed to seeing an unsatisfactory rating on a member of my crew.
Shai, since it is your draft pick for this episode, you will need to provide us with a Schiller rating. How many something out of 10, please?
All right, gentle as all. How many freestanding cylinders of mashed potatoes being made with a whisk instead of a potato ricer do you give this movie?
Like a freestanding cylinders
Wow.
of mashed potato.
That's very good.
Being what was that? Being what? Sorry.
Made with
Made
a
by
whisk.
Yeah.
instead of a potato rice.
With a whisk instead of a potato ricer. Do you
Of
give
a
this?
potato ricer? Fantastic. That's an all-time high for me. That one is okay. Please give us your rating, Shai. We'll start with you.
It remains and always shall be a 10.
Fantastic. Let's mix it up. Let's go Frank. Frank, what are we going to give this?
I pre-rated a 6, saying it is my 7th favorite out of the 10 movies. We don't count Section 31 in this family. But we should watch it again. I am going to hold fast that it is still my 7th favorite movie. However, I will bump the rating because I did enjoy a lot more of the little details than parts of the story that I hang up on, and that is being unfair to the final crew. So I will begrudgingly allow Star Trek VI, this Undiscovered Country, to have 7.5.
Oh.
Poorly formed mounds of mashed potatoes, formerly in a vaporized stock pot, that are now sitting there with a whisk in them, not a potato ricer, and sitting on what may be a burner and burning away, and no one's thinking about that, but thank God there's a fire extinguisher nearby.
Out of 10.
Yeah, you thought it was going to be fire extinguishers. You thought it was going to be fire extinguishers, but
It was Frank's choice. It would have been. Stars, Schiller rating, please.
What's my pre-rating?
I can't remember.
8.5.
8.5.
8.5.
8.
No, it was higher than that, wasn't
Was
it?
it 9? 9.5?
No, I think it was an 8. I don't think I went for 9.
We would have shit on Idol if it
8,
was
10,
8.5.
I think I said 10.
Yeah, see, I get to get away with it because I don't do it every freaking episode. I think I'll bump up to a 9. Pounds of potato, mashed potato being made with a whisk instead of potato riser like psychopaths. That is a really weird visual. Like it's just like so compacted in that it's solid and not slopping everywhere. And I'm like,
But it's
should
not
that not
burnt
be
either.
leaking? Yeah, like okay, so it's on the stove. You are presumably whisking it.
Okay. Here's
Why
what
is
happened.
it not sloppy, or is it so dry that it's compacted?
Here's
in?
what happened. When it was vaporized,
What are the physics here?
the heat transferred into the mashed potato because it's made out of an Andorian kind of rice flour.
Okay.
That changed it to a gelatinous state, and the heat transferred
Yeah.
and made it more solid and burnt the whisk into it. So there you go. There's your answer.
Also, great special effect dissolving the pot around the cylinder of potatoes.
Okay, yeah. So I go with 9 overly long mashed potato jokes out of 10. It's got some flaws.
I'm sorry. Stars is saying someone else's Schiller rating is too long. Okay.
Guess what? Nothing's funnier than hypocrisy. It's got some heavy flaws. It really does have some heavy flaws, but the bits that hit like an absolute freight train. And I think that in terms of saying goodbye to a crew, yes, it could have been better. Yes, it could have been perfect, but so can all things. And I find that it's a really... I find that it's... Guess what? It takes a certain level of courage to make a movie like this as you're going out of admitting that you can always grow. I think that there's something really, really idealistic about that. It's saying, this may be the end for the characters, but they'll never stop growing. That's really kind of lovely. I love that message. So yeah, 9. I'll give it a solid 9.
Solid 9. Okay. I'll go next, and then we'll finish on you, Otto. I'm also going to go 9.
That's what anyway.
I'm also
You're reducing to a 9.
I'm going to go for a 9. I started at a 10. I've gone down slightly. I think there are parts of this film that maybe kind of go like, yeah, that could have been better. That could have been better paced, or maybe this topic of conversation is not handled with the delicacy that it should be, as we sort of spoke earlier in this review. But everything else is great. It's the final sort of hurrah for the Monster Maroons, really. We get the Enterprise A in all her glory. We get multiple good shots of it. It's a compelling storyline that is evocative of the era at the time, post-Cold War, and even alludes to Chernobyl as well with the Praxis accident and sort of like shortcuts in democracy and how that works, and how not only can we change as a species and we can change as a person, how the Klingons change as well, and our perception of other people based on our interactions with them and how we live among them, even though it wasn't quite a little bit heavy-handed in favour of Shatner just rolling around in the sand over McCoy with himself, because of course it's Shatner. But we got some amazing Spock eloquence. We got some amazing Sulu moments. So I'm absolutely going to go for, and I'm going to not look because I get accused of just being able to look at the spreadsheet. So
Thank you.
I'm going to go for 9 cylinders of mashed potato that, for some insane reason, are being whisked. No, being made with a whisk instead of a potato ricer. Is that close? Hang on, what did I get wrong?
Are we sure it's mashed potato? Is it maybe like some kind of
I think it's like dough.
baking? Like maybe
Look,
dough.
if anyone would
Yeah.
know, it's Shy.
No,
This
because
is
there's turkey. There's turkey. They're serving it with turkey.
Oh, that.
I guess so.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless they're making like biscuits to go with it. I don't
Biscuits
know.
or bread or something like. Okay. Otto, final.
Also, who's the chef? Like they went from
Yeah.
blue squid to like turkey and mashed potatoes and things.
Riker.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh god, it's holodeck episode.
Yeah.
He's there.
Turn on objective mode.
Yeah. If we're gonna abuse AI, just have Riker. These are the voyages. Every movie, every episode, he shows up, turns it into a holodeck episode.
Fantastic. Oh my god.
So, in addition to some of my other nitpicks, I found Valeris to be inconsistent with Vulcans. The showmanship, the smiling, the bemused jokes, and I actually thought if they would have kept
She's out of control.
Saavik, either Saavik, I think would have been better. Obviously, and there's reasons why. And the mind meld scene, I think that would have put it in the right place for the level of betrayal Spock was meant to be feeling. And I didn't love Chang. I thought he's okay, but just the constant monologuing villain, I'm never going to appreciate that personally. So, in honor of Shiaporn, this is better than a 7. It's not quite a 9, but I know he loves this whole number, so I'm giving this 8 freestanding cylinders of mashed potatoes, whisked instead of potato riced, out of 10.
Fantastic. Okay.
What does that average out to? Ivan?
We've got an average of 8.7 containers of questionable mashed potato.
Strong.
Very
you
strong.
know what? Sorry, I got to ramble a little more. The reason, because all I did was mention the nitpicks. The reason why those nitpicks irritate me so much is because when this movie is good, it's damn good.
Yeah.
And I would love it to be like the top of my replayability, rewatchability list, and just the few things that clang against my brain. I just wish they weren't there because it's so good otherwise. So it is very good.
I will also note the IMDb rating for this movie is 7.2, so we are officially
above average.
By the way, the
IMDb.
letterbox is 3.6 out of 5, so it's
I was gonna
7.2 on both sides. So
fantastic. Okay, we rated this exactly the same as Ad Astra per Aspera from Strangely Well Season 2. Slightly better than Drone and the Andorian Incident. Not quite as good as Equality of Mercy or Extreme Risk. So
Shy hates Quality of Mercy.
Look at you people. Look what you've done.
Where does it line up against Sub Rosa?
Let me just check. Hang on.
Neck and neck.
Sub Rosa was a 3.6. So
almost there. Okay, almost there.
There's a little bit of a difference. We're going to leave you guys with one last fun fact. So sadly, Gene Roddenberry passed away shortly after, around the time this film was being produced. He did see the movie 2 days before he died. According to William Shatner's Star Trek movie memories, so take it with a grain of salt, Roddenberry, after seeing the film, gave thumbs up all round and then went back, phoned his lawyer, angrily demanding a quarter of the film's more militaristic moments be removed for the film. But Gene died before his lawyer could present his demands to the studio.
I was waiting for you to say he demanded a quarter of the profits, but that's also...
I read that and I thought, that's such a Gene story. That makes so much sense. But,
that absolutely reads to me as true. I don't have to take any salt with that.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. We will see you soon. Keep an eye on the Discord and all of that. And from us here, live long and prosper. And let loose the dogs of war!